Good morning to everyone tuned in to today's post-cabinet briefing. I will today provide more details on the incoming emergency powers COVID-19 regulations, which will come into force on 6th October 2021 and expire on 19th October 2021. Likewise, discuss the introduction of remote hearings at the magistrates' courts. In relation to the emergency powers COVID-19 regulations, as the Prime Minister just indicated, there are several important changes that have been made to these regulations that will continue to impact the day-to-day lives of individuals residing, working, and visiting Grenada. Firstly, there will continue to be the curfew period commencing 7 p.m. nightly and ending at 4 a.m. in the morning daily, and that includes, as the Prime Minister stated, Saturdays and Sundays, meaning that the no movement weekends have been discontinued. During the nightly curfew period, individuals are reminded that you are required to stay at home unless you are an essential worker or a worker otherwise exempted pursuant to the regulations. Individuals and businesses that have obtained prior approvals under the last two sets of COVID-19 regulations need not seek new approvals, as provisions have been made in the incoming regulations for those prior approvals to continue being valid. The time for accessing beaches and rivers, as Minister Modest has indicated, has also changed from 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, so individuals may continue to go to either place to exercise, but no picnics, no parties, or other such gatherings. It is important to remind individuals that notwithstanding that between 4 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, individuals are allowed to move around, we continue to request that people restrict their movement to that which is necessary. In other words, we must be purposeful when leaving our homes, and that purpose must be for conducting legitimate business, as there continues to be a general prohibition on social activities and large gatherings. That maintains as the general framework of the COVID-19 regulations. There are additional businesses that will now be allowed to be opened, which includes your retail stores from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., gyms and fitness centers from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m., businesses and establishments in the beautification industry across the board from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. by appointment only. That includes hairdressers, barbers, spas, nail technicians, and such other types of businesses. All professional offices may be opened on an appointment-only basis. That includes your real estate agents, surveyors, engineering firms, and such other professional businesses. Likewise, daycare centers can now open too from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. All businesses, of course, are encouraged to continue to operate remotely insofar as they are able to do the same. Likewise, businesses continue to be required to follow the physical distancing and safety protocols. That is, your businesses must have the 6 feet markers in place. Their patrons must wear a face mask covering the nose, mouth, and chin. Customers must sanitize hands on entry. Businesses must keep proper, legible records of names, telephone numbers, and addresses of people entering their businesses. Also, generally, as the Prime Minister indicated, we suggest that the safest option for businesses is to ensure that at no time you have no more than 50% capacity in your establishment. The government has noticed the overcrowding of some businesses in the last 2 weeks, and we urge those businesses to get back in line with the regulations. There are some businesses where employers, employees, and customers will be required to present their vaccination status. Firstly, after consulting with the business community and listening to their requests for measures in relation to them, likewise, the medical advice received from our scientific experts, all businesses where health permits or food handler certificates are required, employers must present the vaccination status of their employees to be able to open or reopen their businesses. Employees must present their vaccination status to be able to discharge their duties at those businesses. The businesses in question includes restaurants, hotels, guest houses, bars, and those in the beautification industry, so your barbers, your hairdressers, your spas, and such other businesses with that requirement. Secondly, residential care establishments or facilities, including elderly nursing homes, also have the requirement for the vaccination of all individuals working and living there to present their vaccination status to be able to offer the service or to continue to reside there. Thirdly, daycare centers also have the requirement to present the vaccination status of individuals working there, likewise to be able to open or to be able to discharge duties at that business as an employee. There is a further requirement for daycare centers, that is, individuals dropping off and picking up infants must also present their vaccination status to be able to attend or access the daycare centers. Fourthly, any business offering dining services, patrons are required to present their vaccination card to be able to dine in. This requirement does not extend to takeaway or drive-through services, as those may continue to be provided for all customers despite their vaccination status. The government appreciates that some people have only been partially vaccinated thus far, so there should be a transition period. As such, employees who have at least one dose will be permitted to work and do have a fixed time period within which to present proof of the second dose. In the case of the Pfizer vaccine, that is 3 weeks from your first dose, and in the case of the AstraZeneca vaccine, that is 3 weeks from your first dose. That is 8 weeks, from your first dose. These requirements are likely to be long-term and will continue to be a feature in future COVID-19 regulations. Some may have concerns that certain businesses have vaccination requirements now, while frontline healthcare workers are not being regulated in a similar manner as yet, or even before them. It is useful to put that in context now. As stated before, those business communities in question requested the industry be regulated in a certain manner, and the government has sought, in a reasonably justifiable way, to incorporate that request to allow them to resume operating in furtherance of the health and safety of the general public and restoration of much-needed business activities. In relation to frontline healthcare workers, the government is extending steady advocacy on that matter to get better uptakes, and whilst that is done, the government must balance the reality of whether there will be sufficient workers to provide essential healthcare services and/or a regulatory framework that reduces that capacity. Healthcare services are an essential business that must be open, the closure of which puts lives in danger, versus restaurants and bars and such businesses which are more optional in nature but want to operate within that framework to continue doing business in a safer manner. One expects individuals to be concerned also about the measures for schools and the religious community. In relation to the religious community, there has been no change as yet. That is a form of large or mass gathering, and the government is still in discussion with the religious communities to decide how best to approach that sector in a safe manner. Once those discussions have been completed, amendments, as may be needed, will be made to the COVID-19 regulations. Until then, the religious community may continue to worship virtually. In relation to schools and educational institutions, as the Prime Minister stated, the main concerns are the health and safety of our educators and students. The vaccination rate among teachers, support staff, and students over 12 is significantly low, and against that backdrop, it is difficult for the government to announce the reopening of schools. As such, schools will continue to be virtual. Those are the fundamental changes in the incoming COVID-19 regulations. One appreciates that these measures continue to infringe on individual rights and freedoms in a manner that is necessary and reasonably justifiable in the interest of the health and safety of the general public. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues to unfold in Grenada, these measures will change and evolve in a manner that suits the situation at hand. On a separate but related matter, with respect to the magistracy, the government will soon be introducing for the first time in magistrates' courts in all magisterial districts in our islands virtual hearings via the Magistracy Remote Hearings Rules 2021. The government acknowledges that there is a high volume of people that seek justice in person daily at our various district magistrates' courts, and that the interaction in that setting needs to be reduced, having regard to the COVID-19 pandemic. Consequently, the soon-to-be-introduced Magistracy Remote Hearing Rules shall facilitate remote court hearings of magistrate court matters as deemed appropriate by the adjudicating magistrate. It will apply to all types of matters before the magistrates' courts, including civil, criminal, traffic, and family proceedings. Remote hearings or real hearings applying the same principles as face-to-face hearings with attorneys at law, parties, witnesses, and others who are permitted to be part of the hearing present. The primary media via which remote hearings will be conducted would include video conferencing platforms like Zoom platform, the Teams platform. It may be by telephone conference or such other media as may be indicated on the court summons. Individuals will continue to be served with a summons to attend court, and that summons will have notes accompanying it, giving details as to what to do to be able to participate in a remote hearing. The government is particularly mindful that at the magistrates' court level, numerous individuals are self-represented. Being conscious of that fact, provisions will be made for self-represented litigants to attend the magistrates' court, where facilities are in place for them to participate in a virtual hearing. There has recently been a retrofitting of all the various district magistrate courts, which involved installing all necessary modern equipment to facilitate virtual hearings and other changes to enhance the safety of individuals attending the court to reduce exposure to COVID-19 while seeking justice. As the magistracy resumes hearings, individuals should be aware that your hearing may be a remote hearing, and you will be informed by the magistrate's court office in advance. These are all of the matters that I will be addressing today. Thank you to everyone.